welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming at you with yet another foundation review because that's just what I do. I love my foundation reviews. And I'm going to be talking about the Too Faced Peach Perfect Comfort Matte Foundation. I almost feel like I need to apologize for this foundation because quite honestly, with the small amount of time that I have to watch YouTube every day, I just haven't been watching it lately because I feel like everything in my feed is either the Too Faced Peach collection or the Fenty Beauty collection. It's so overwhelming and so oversaturated. So I'm not going to talk about the whole collection. I got a few other pieces, but I just want to concentrate on the foundation because you know that's my favorite part of any collection. And I did think that this warranted its own separate video. So it's the Peach Perfect, I already said this, I think, Comfort Matte Foundation. It comes in tube similar to like the It Cosmetics CC Cream. It's a squeeze tube with a pump. I will be the first to say I don't like cutesy type packaging like this. This is my personal opinion. I would rather have something very sleek and very streamlined personally because I personally am not like a Ruffles pink type girl. My favorite packaging and makeup ever is Burberry. That is like me in packaging. Like Argyle, manly, very masculine type packaging I like. I'm just not a frou-frou type person. And on top of that, apart from what I feel like personally, I like to have things like if I did want to carry this in my kit, I don't know, there's just something about pulling this out and using it on a client that's paying me a good chunk of money to do their makeup. And I just don't, anyways, that's enough about the packaging. I don't like it, but the actual form of the packaging, I do like. The squeeze tube and the pump. I am in the color Natural Beige. I go into that a little bit more in the demo. This retails for $36 and it comes in a 1.6 fluid ounce bottle. You are getting 50%, a little over 50% more than you normally do in any other foundation, and it's still only $36. The price point is perfect in my opinion. In fact, I don't think you could ask for a better price point in a Too Faced foundation. It does only come in 12 shades. The deepest shade is Mahogany Deep with rosy undertones. It really doesn't look that deep online. So hopefully they'll be, you know, relaunching some other shades, but right now they only have 12, which is not that extensive. But I do think that maybe this was just a soft launch and they're going to be adding onto it in the future because this is a permanent product. It's not a limited edition product. Real quick on the claims. Obviously, it says Comfort Matte Foundation. It's infused with peach and sweet fig cream. To my eye, and looking over the ingredients, I don't see any alcohol. However, it does have fragrance, obviously. It does say it's infused with peach and sweet fig cream. And while it does have fruit extracts higher up in the ingredient list, it also has fragrance and parfum down towards the bottom. I'm trying to find it again so I can show you. It does have fragrance, like, I'm trying to get it to where you can see. Right where my finger is. So that's the entire list of ingredients, which, I mean, obviously that's a lot of ingredients, but the fragrance is that far down. Just so you know. So again, I think I got off the claims. I'm just all over the place apparently. It says that it's appropriate for basically all skin types. Sensitive, normal, dry, combination, and oily. It has a matte finish with a 14-hour comfortable matte foundation. Non-transfer resistant, oil controlling foundation. Creates a smooth canvas for comfortable wear using exclusive comfort matte technology that is never cakey or mask-like. Okay, formulated without parabens, sulfates, or phthalates. I don't know how to pronounce that. We're not going to even try to act like I know. So if you are interested to see how this performs on my skin, be sure and keep on watching because I do go into a demo and then I will come back with my final thoughts on the new Too Faced Peach Perfect Comfort Matte Foundation. I almost forgot what it was called. Now y'all know I like to take notes and what primers I wore and what powders I wore and what works best together and stuff like that. And I have found that the primer and powder combination that I'm going to use today has worked the best. So I'm going to start out with my primer, and it's the Algenist Pore Corrector Anti-Aging Primer. This is just a thick, very silicone-based, pretty standard feeling primer, honestly. but it works really good with a lot of foundations, this being one of them. And y'all have seen this a million times, but I'm going to color correct with my Maybelline Master Camo. Okay, so we're just going to go in. I probably have already told you this, but I'm in the color Natural Beige. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I have had some very colorful comments that y'all know I just delete because I don't have time for that, about my color matching skills. I invite anybody, first of all, to go over to my Instagram and see whether or not I can color match on all my clients. Second of all, I know my neck and my face do not match my chest and my arms. The way y'all are kind of seeing me, you don't see the bulk of my arms, you don't see the bulk of my chest. My neck is lighter because my chin shades it, and my self-tan does not stick on my neck. I have said that many times. So whatever foundation that I pick, if I am self-tanning, I pick it to match my chest and my arms because that's what's going to be shown to the people around me. So I know that when I put a foundation on, it's 3 times darker than my face. I exfoliate and I wear SPF religiously. My face is pale, okay? And I know that whatever foundation I'm going to have to use, I am going to put it down my neck as well as bronze down my neck, again, to match my neck or my chest and shoulders. So if you're new and you notice that when I put this on, it is way darker than the skin on my face, it is because the skin on my face, I don't know if you can tell, is a lot lighter than the skin on my arms and chest. All right, anyways, I got Natural Beige. This is going to end up being my summer color, but I'm going to take 2 pumps of this. I've already talked about the packaging, and that's the consistency. So while it is not moussey by any means, it's also not like so watery that I can't hold my hand up like this. It's right there in the middle. So I tried it with a lot of different things to apply it, but what I found my favorite is a brush, and my actual favorite brush is not the palm brush, although I do love it. It's the Sephora 56.5 Pro Mini Flawless Airbrush. This is the one that came like when I renewed my rouge status, but they do have it. I just saw it on the Just Arrived section in black for 20 bucks. I love this brush. So I don't really have, I have my standard redness to cover, but other than that, I don't really have anything substantial to cover, but you're looking at my bare face right now. So let's go ahead and go in with the foundation. I'm going to pick it up directly on the brush and buff it in. Yes, it does have a very potent, I would say, fragrance. And if you have been with my foundation reviews for a while, you know that a lot of times I don't mention fragrance because honestly my nose doesn't smell it. I don't have the most sensitive nose when it comes to fragrance unless I am pregnant, and I am not. So sometimes I don't smell what some of y'all do. I have a lot of comments sometimes being like, oh, I just can't take the fragrance in this, and I'm like, what fragrance? I don't smell any fragrance. So I'm not the best person to talk about fragrance in all foundations. However, this one does have a very distinct fragrance to it. It is a little fake to me, but it's not enough to put me off, if that makes sense. And it doesn't last. So like by the time I put my powder on in a few minutes, it will have gone away. But if you are sensitive to fragrance, do be aware of that. I'm sure you've heard it from the umpteen million videos that are already out on this collection. Okay, so right off the bat, it's pretty good coverage. I still see a little bit of redness. I still have some on the back of my hand, so I'm just going to stipple a little bit more on top of where the most redness is coming through. But honestly, once I get my blush and bronzer and stuff on, you're not going to be able to see that anyways. Okay, so everything's smoothed on really, really nice. I'll zoom you in as I always do. Hopefully this is bright enough, but you can tell I don't really think it's blurring, but I don't remember it stating it was blurring, so I'm okay with that. I think the primer that I used did a fairly good job with my pores anyways. It went on really smooth with the brush, and I think it's got a very nice initial coverage as well as builds up very nice. Now I will say, when the first day that I put this on, I didn't do anything like special or out of the ordinary with my skincare. And when I first put it on, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, there's no way this is matte. Like, how are they saying this is a matte foundation? And even now, I don't feel like it's a flat matte. It's a little bit, tiny bit glowy, but I think that that's my skincare underneath. So if you're going to use like a mattifying primer or anything, I think that it will definitely be matte. Now, there were some days where it was more matte than not, and I'll talk about that after I finish my whole face. But this is the initial feel. It is not setting down to a powder finish. It is still quite tacky, so it does need to be set. I don't think that it claims to set to a powder finish, but I don't think even if you're dry, you're going to want to go without setting this, at least in your T-zone. It does claim to be transfer proof. I can't really attest to that without powder because I always set my foundations, but I can talk about it, how it works with powder on. But I got to get away from this viewfinder with these orange under eyes. So let me finish my makeup and I'll come back and I'll talk to you about all my final thoughts on the foundation. Okay, so I'm back. Let's just ignore this hair. I did typo this morning, I didn't wash it. So it's one of those like air dried, but not from water, from the shower, from sweat. That's what I'm working with now. So anyways, this is what my face looks like directly after putting all the other makeup on top of the foundation. I think it's pretty airbrush looking, honestly. I don't think it is pretty airbrush looking. I think it's airbrush looking. And just so you know, in case anybody asks, because I feel like I've gotten this a couple times, I use a camera that does not have the smoothing filter on it. So that's not an issue in any of my close-ups. This is how the foundation looks in real life. So hopefully it's coming across on camera, because I do feel like it is very smoothing almost. Like it has a very smoothing quality to it. So in true foundation review fashion, I have taken notes. I only took notes on 3 days. This is actually the 5th or 6th day that I've worn it, but I specifically paid super good attention to it on 3 days. So the first day that I paid attention to it, I used the Jane Iredale Smooth Affair Primer. I just have a deluxe sample, but I really like this primer, so I think I might get the full size. But I used that, and then I set it with my Too Faced Born This Way powder. I wanted to see how it worked with the same brand as a powder. Now, I did order the Peach Matte setting powder, but it's not coming in until tomorrow, so I can't tell you how this works with that, but I can with the Too Faced Born This Way. So I even wrote down like what I did, so y'all could have an idea. Oh, and this day I used the Sephora brush that I also used in this video. So this day I actually freelanced for Smashbox. I applied it at 9 o'clock that morning. I took it off at 11 o'clock that night. So I did wear it for the exact 14 hour that it claims to wear, or 14 hours that it claims to wear. I had written down that, again, I didn't feel like it was matte when it was applied, but that my pores looked great after application, and then it gave a very airbrush look. Same thing I said today. As the day went on, I do feel like I got a little shiny around my nose, just right around here, but it's nothing that I would feel like I needed to take a powder to. It was just an observation. I did get a lot of compliments and questions. In fact, I felt kind of bad that I wasn't wearing a Smashbox foundation, because everybody that I talked to was like, is this the one? What foundation are you wearing? Is this the one? And I'm like, yeah, no, sorry. Not Smashbox. Probably should have been, but it wasn't. So I got a lot of compliments and questions on my foundation that day, and I did cardio this night, and it lasted fine throughout that. It didn't, I mean, I think I had had it on for like 12 hours by the time I did cardio. It wasn't like, oh, you know, flawless and airbrushed as when I applied it, but it was good enough to where I didn't feel like I even need to go back in and touch up if I were to go somewhere after cardio, if that makes sense. So what I put down here, I underlined that it's not super matte. And what I mean by that, it is not a flat matte finish. It is not so full coverage you look like you're wearing a mask. And I will tell you right now, it is the most comfortable matte foundation I have ever worn. When they say comfort matte technology, they mean it. Now, I don't know what that means as far as the technology. I don't know if it's a gimmick because they just knew that it was comfortable, so they thought that they would put that as a claim. I don't know, and honestly, I don't care because it's very comfortable. I don't feel tight. I don't feel like I'm wearing a mask. I just think it looks like really good makeup. Now, do I think that it looks like my skin? No, I think it's pretty obvious I'm wearing makeup, but not in a bad way. I have foundations that I have tried before where it really looks like I'm wearing makeup and it wasn't a good thing. This is not like a your skin but better, because it is, I mean, it can be built up to full coverage, but it looks good. It still doesn't look cakey, and it still doesn't look like you overdid it. Okay, so the second day I used exactly what I used today, the Algenist primer, and then I set it with my Clinique Invisible Blend Loose Powder. And that's what I used again today. I used a sponge on this day, so just my regular Beauty Junkie sponge. I applied it at 6 o'clock that morning, and I wore it until 10 o'clock that night. So this day I wore it for 16 hours. I worked a wedding that day. I think I had 5 faces. And then I went directly from the wedding to drop my kid off at home, pick my youngest up, and take her to a birthday party, which was a pool party. So I was outside for the remainder of the afternoon. Now, granted, it was not like scorching hot, but I was still outside in the sun. One thing that I wanted to take note of, or obviously I wanted to because I wrote it on here, is that it does not sink into my smile lines. Even some of my most favorite foundations, by the end of the day, and especially after 16 hours of wear, will have sunk into my smile lines. And when I work weddings and stuff, or when I'm just freelancing in general, I tend to have the foundation sink in quicker because I'm talking a lot and I'm smiling a lot. So, you know, that kind of aids in the sinkage. And I'm telling you, at the end of the 16 hours, it had not sunk in my smile lines at all, which is a huge plus for me. I didn't get any shininess today when I wore these 2 products. Again, I put Flawless, and super, super long lasting. At the end of this day, and I'll go ahead and tell you at the end of every day, it looked almost exactly the same as when I first applied it. And I'm talking like this day, 16 hours of wear. And I did put that I feel like it did look better than yesterday. Hence the reason this is my favorite combo to wear with it. I don't think it looked better enough to warrant like saying, oh, you need to go buy these products, the primer and the powder to go with it. I don't think that at all. It's still a beautiful foundation with other primers and powders, but I do feel like on me that this combination just looks the best with it. And finally, on day 3, I used my Becca Backlight Priming Filter and my Chanel Loose Powder. Now, the real reason that I wanted to use the Backlight Priming Filter is because this is one of my glowiest primers, and I wanted to see if the glow would shine through the supposed matte finish. I don't think it did. So I don't think this is something you're going to be able to manipulate according to what primer you use. Now, I didn't use my La Mer powder with it, or even my Lancome powder that does have a little bit of a shimmer to it, so maybe that would make it look a little more glowy, but I don't think the primer did it. I used the palm brush this day. Again, worked great with that. I applied it at 7 and took it off at 9. So again, another 14 hours. I had church this day. We had company over. I cleaned the house and I did cardio. So it was a busy day, and it held up perfectly, exclamation point, exclamation point. I cannot stress enough. That's all for my notes. So let me get on my final thoughts. I'm not going to do a check-in today because honestly, I feel like we're kind of past the season where check-ins are necessary. I don't particularly have oily skin, so I can't really tell you or show you how it works or wears throughout the day on oily skin. I have fairly normal skin, and it's not 100 degrees outside anymore. The humidity this week has pretty been non-existent. So I don't really think that it's going to make a difference. I worked out this morning, so I can't show you how it worked out, how it wore through a workout. Quite honestly, I'm just so busy at this time of year that I just don't have time to schedule my videos on days that I work out and vice versa. So you're just going to have to like trust me on this, because I promise you that if I were to come back 10 hours from now, it would look just like this. I mean, there's no question about it, because every single day I've worn it, no matter what products I've worn it with, it has stayed true to the initial application finish throughout the entire day. So I'm going to tell you, based on that, I love this foundation. And I'm not going to say that because that's going to kind of be a spoiler. I really like this foundation. End of story, because it is so flawless on the skin. It's not uncomfortable. It lasts all day, and I know that no matter what I use it with, it's going to still look good. Like my Bare Minerals Bare Skin, I can't say the same for that. I think it's still a beautiful foundation, but I have to kind of concentrate or really pay attention to what I'm using with it, because it just doesn't look as good with some products as others. This one looks as good with all of them. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I feel like the price is right for the amount of product that you get. The only thing I'm not crazy about is the added fragrance, but as I said in the intro, it's very low down. And with all the foundations that I have, I mean, I'm not going to be wearing this every single day of my life. I know I say that all the time, but you're going to have to choose whether or not fragrance in a foundation bothers you and do your own research based on that. I would much rather have fragrance be way down on the list of ingredients than alcohol be way at the top. So, you know, this is the least of my worries when it comes to ingredients, but it is obviously not one that is free of fragrance, so do keep that in mind. Other than that, there's really no cons that I can say about this foundation. Like, I'm really, really happy with this one. Really happy with this one. Like, I just used the Clinique Even Better in my last video, which I told you I'd really been liking. I like this one better. Yeah, I just like this one better. I like it. I like it. I'm going to be doing my top 5 foundations over again in probably October. I think I'm going to restart everything because this month is going to be, I think, my last category of top 5. So you may or may not see it in that one, but it's a very strong contender. Very strong. So hopefully this helped you in some form or fashion, as I always hope. Let me know if you've tried this foundation, what you have thought, how your experience has gone with it, and I'll try to keep you updated on what I think about the powder in upcoming videos. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure and subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any future videos. And as always, I hope you all have a very blessed